Hi there and welcome back to our World Tour Wednesdays as presented from our secret location. Where are we? Tell me if you guys can work it out. Anyway, I'm between homes at the moment, so I thought I'd go for a little bit of a journey. And while on this World Tour Wednesday, we are currently covering the music of New Zealand. New Zealand is not where I am, by the way, and just in case you're wondering. And we had some wonderful suggestions from our very own resident New Zealander who comments on all of our videos and has been very loyal to us. Of course, you guys can comment as well and give us suggestions for future World Tour Wednesdays as well as our normal Japanese musical fare if you want to get involved in either commenting here or on our Reddit or our Discord. You know how this works. We've got all the social media platforms linked in the description below. Anyway, apologies again about the quality of the audio in this particular World Tour Wednesday this week. I've just arrived in my secret location and I've been setting up a lot of technical stuff. Has been a bit of a pain in the arse, therefore I hope you can hear me properly. The audio will be a little bit meh for these three songs we're doing today. Hopefully there'll be 3 songs from New Zealand today if none of them get blocked. Anyway, today, well, now, really interesting one. This is apparently Kai TANGATA. Kai TANGATA. Sorry if I can't pronounce any of this right. Who is either a person or a band, I don't know. But the music is apparently, I was given the comment to say that it was connected very much to traditional, if you like, Aborigine. I think that's the right word for the native New Zealanders. It's connected to that whole sort of sound of the native New Zealanders, and it's got a message because the song's called Alien Weaponry. And it's based on the idea of when, if you like, Western weapons were apparently first introduced to the New Zealanders. Now, the traditional, what's the word? Native New Zealanders? Anyway, the point is that I don't do much research on artists before I listen to them because it's very nice to get the whole thing from you guys giving me the comments and basically from just reacting and picking it up with too many clues. But I've been told this is really integral and central to the message of this video. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. It's a whole 7.25 minutes long, so I'm going to get into this fairly quickly and then we'll discuss it afterwards. But this is Alien Weaponry by Kai TANGATA. Did I get that right? And where am I? Tell me if you can guess. That reminds me a lot of the Who band intro. In 1820, the Great Northern War chief Hongi Hika departed from New Zealand for England. On his return, he brought with him the War of God and hundreds of muskets. Oh, the word of God. Things would never be the same again. Let's get some volume on that. Quasnick Pictures. It's interesting to have a song about historic relevance and the band do look like they're about 12. But it certainly is rocking. But yeah, they look like Metal Hanson. That's so not fair. stuff where it works best, where it's kind of like a metal war chant. So this is a chorus, it's kind of like a two-tone thing. The chorus isn't really doing anything for me, but the bits in between are really engaging, so looking forward to seeing what we get here as a bridge, I'm assuming. Like that little sound like bees flying around the headphones. Definitely check this out in stereo. Felt they could have like worked off of the back of the momentum they had there rather than dropping back down. It's an interesting one. It's a really interesting one. Again, kind of like, oh, that's an ending with nothing in it. I'm going to close that. Just like a title card thing they had. So it's hard to really assess a proper opinion on this one without having to break it down into many different factors, because there's many things that make this up. Now, obviously, the impression I got from the video and the message of that is quite an important part of that, but I'm going to come back to that last, because I've got a few things to say about that. In regards to the music, there's not too much to unpack with this one, actually. I think that it kind of goes in a relatively predictable direction for the best part. Once you've heard the beginning, the riff, it doesn't really go anywhere much from that. I know it has this big chorus, but the chorus is there's so little in regards to melody in it. I know this song is not hugely about melody, therefore I'm not going to chime on about that too much, but there's not really a huge amount to the chorus. And the chorus itself is a bit where the guitar just sort of goes, hold, hold. And so the chorus is actually a little bit boring, to be honest. The rest of the song is really high energy and kind of works. It's got that sort of stomping thing, the muted guitar, sort of muting and punching, it comes in stabs and things. I love the way that they use that sort of more traditional style of vocal, give it a real shout. I must admit, if that was actually the guys who are singing in the band who are doing the vocals for this, I'm massively impressed, because they, like I say, they look like a sort of like Hanson or something. They it's really bad to judge a book by a cover, but it just doesn't look like they have enough body mass to really give out like a proper New Zealand war cry. I mean, you look at the sort of the rugby players doing the haka and everything. I know this is a stereotype, but you see them doing that and you think that noise is coming from a lot of body mass. But you see these sort of skinny white guys and then making that kind of noise. You've got to be kind of impressed. If that's coming out of their mouths, I wouldn't mess with them. Book by cover. There you go, perfect example. So, that was really good. I liked that. I liked the sort of way that it had that really charging beat. But after a while, I felt that this, for a 7-minute long music video, I think this kind of had like 3 minutes worth of music in it. I think you could have easily lost half of the length of this song just by tightening it up. The ending did not feel like a crescendo. And I think one of the biggest problems was that the vocal stuff was so good and the rhythm stuff was so good that, it kind of unfortunately got taken down by the fact that they were stuck with a metal trope, which is the guitar was too loud. Now, I know I've mentioned this before in a few things, and I'm just going to cover this for anyone who's wondering why, because if you're a metal fan, you might be thinking, well, it's all about the guitar, and there are ways you can make this work with guitar, but this had that big problem that was kind of very prevalent in the early 2000s, and I don't want to sound like I'm whinging about the old days, but actually things have kind of improved since then, so it's a worthwhile one to come back to, and this is to do with compression. Now, I'm not against audio compression, but on guitar, especially in metal, it can be a real song killer if it's done wrong. Now, quickly to explain, if you're not familiar with compression, if you are, don't worry, after this I'm going to explain a few more details that might be a little bit more interesting to you, but just for a beginner's guide, compression is when you see, you've seen audio, probably little waveforms and things, and it goes up and down, you see the quiet bits and the low bits. Now, in music, it's kind of standard in almost every style of musical recording, with exception to like classical, and even some jazz they do it, is you do compression, which is basically you take the quiet bits and the loud bits. The loud bits, you kind of drop them down so everything's in more of an equal volume level. Now, you might ask, why do you do this? It's basically so that everything has an equal say. When you've got all the instruments together, everything has equal punch, and it does make music much more, music fills up the headphones more when you do it. It becomes more punchy, but obviously you can imagine if you do it too much and everything has its maximum and minimum volumes brought more into line, everything just kind of sounds like a steady tone with no impact at all, because there's no contrast between loud and quiet. Now, when you do this with guitar, it can work, and well, for electric guitar it can work because it can give it more bang. It means that the loud notes always hit the same maximum level, so there is that real impact when they come in. You don't get powerful and weak notes, just every note power, power, power. But when you have that happening all the way through a 7-minute song, and you've just got this compressed maximum to the guitars, you get to the point where it's like, well, after 30 seconds, you've heard the full impact of the song, and nothing that comes after is ever going to have any more impact than that, which is made more prevalent by the fact that the guitar is the one thing giving most impact to the song. The vocals have so much power to them that if they were turned up louder, if they were put front and center, and I do mean that as in the group vocals, the sort of really big chanting sort of vocals, if that was given more power, then the song would have more things to punch through with. It would be able to surprise you. But when the only thing that really has true power in the song is the guitar, it sucks the life out of it. So, I would actually suggest giving the guitar slightly less compressed, more punchy sort of sound in like little bits, little bits of punch rather than constant banging in at the top of the volume scale, and then allowing everything to have more body, because there was so much in the song to give it punch. I hope this makes sense what I'm saying, but basically this is the integral reason why this song for me cannot carry 7 minutes. It just cannot. and yet the central core of what makes it good is so good. It has a really good philosophy. It is a song that I want to hear. You know, now I've heard this, I want to hear it again, but I only want to hear about 2 or 3 minutes of this, and then I'm going to be done. Now moving on to the video. The video, again, it was like, the concept is good, and then it kind of fell apart over something really, really unnecessary. Now, I was really interested when I was told what this video was about, and certainly when it began, I was like, wow, it's going to be really interesting. And you know, it sort of built up. You know, you've got the band playing, and you know, sort of heavy metal in the woods with the smoke machines thing. That's fine. Keep that. That's great. Nothing wrong with the classics when it comes to that. But when it came to the narrative element, again, we're looking at a 7-minute plus video, so you know, narrative is important here. I'll be honest, at first the tension was really sort of there. You know, you see the normal sort of people doing their, if you like, sort of tribal thing, and then you got the boat coming down the river. But you know, they've got the guns. You know, it's like, what's going to happen? You're expecting, oh my god, this is going to be something really tense and horrific. And then, especially for a metal video, what came after was so low impact. You know, I mean, it started with a guy being dragged backwards on his back through the grass, and then nothing afterwards carried any weight. No one felt like they were being hit at all. I'm not saying they actually have to have a video where everyone's being beaten the crap out of, but when your whole video is based on the idea of slaughter and violence and the unfair balance of the technology, and they mentioned about, you know, the word of God, you know, sort of people crazed by religion and things like that, you're expecting something quite, like, you know, quite impactful, but it just kind of felt like watching war reenactment in the park, you know, people waving stuff at each other. The facial stuff was great. I mean, you could tell the people who were doing this, I get the feeling that they were, you know, perhaps real connection to New Zealand Aborigines. You know, they had that real blood to them. You know, the facial expression, the way they, you know, sort of presented themselves, that had real impact. But the director what was the director doing? I think the director must have been asleep. I mean, also, when you are covering something where, let's put it this way, I don't know enough about New Zealand history, but I know this particular point has happened in the history of many countries, where the gun suddenly comes in, and those who take to it, you know, it's a slaughter, you know, it's a horrific thing, and you know, this was not painted that way at all. It was painted as like a bit of a slap up in the woods, and the impact that the guys gave by doing the sort of, you know, the traditional thing with the tongues out, the facial expression, the, you know, sort of mad warlike eyes, that was the only impact it had. But that felt watered down by the fact that every time they did that, it was interspersed with some totally mundane, hey, I guess there's some fighting going on style direction. So yeah, I hate to sound too critical, because like I say, there was a lot of things that I liked about it. I like basically the first minute or two of this song is gold. Same for the video. You're like, where's this going? Where's this going? There's, you know, big build up, and then you kind of get to a point of going, oh, this video is, you know, the message that it supposedly carries is not being conveyed at all. I mean, if this is what guns and religion brought to New Zealand, then it just looks like a petty squabble at worst, which I'm pretty sure is not historically accurate or dramatic. And as for the song, it's like, well, you get those like, oh, this is all going to be about guitar off the first 2 minutes. Like, you have some really great sounds in here. Can we hear a bit more of that? And then you get to the end and like, okay, they didn't really use what they had. It was like all the ingredients there were for something brilliant, and the net result was something, all right, yeah, pretty good. I want to say something better. Anyway, well, there you go. Thanks so much for joining me for this particular episode of the World Tour Wednesday. We've got one more song we're going to be checking out. But yeah, like I say, good things happening in there, but I hoped for more. And get involved in the discussion. This is my informed opinion, but this is all subjective. It's music, it's entertainment, so tell me what you think. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm right. Tell me, do you agree? Do you disagree? Get in the comments. Of course, you can get further in discussion and give us more things to react to on the channel. Then you can get involved in our Reddit or our Discord. We have a Twitter and Facebook as well, which are really good for people to catch up with things. You know, very nice and accessible. Or if you really like what we do, which you maybe don't if you're a fan of the band and you just heard my review, but if you do enjoy what we normally do, then feel free to get on our Patreon as well and give us a little bit of money to buy some coffee and keep this going. But for now, we're not in Japan today, but from our secret hideout, tell us if you know where we are. Ciao, ciao.